I stole my whole act from Chris. Those were the words of Garth Brooks himself, admitting how much he was influenced by the cowboy poet Chris LeDoux. And when a superstar like Garth tips his hat like that, you know the man he's talking about was the real deal. Chris was the rodeo world champion who rode broncs by day and turned his rides into songs by night, turning every scar into a lyric. He lived every word he sang, so much so that he turned down major record deals again and again just to keep his songs authentic. But guess what? He still sold over 6 million albums, all on his own, without a label. And if that wasn't wild enough, this man performed concerts with a mechanical bull on stage, and yes, he wrote it between songs. Now it's time for you to saddle up, because today we're exploring the extraordinary life of Chris LeDoux, a rodeo champion, bronze sculptor, and the most authentic voice country music has ever known. Before we dive in, tell me, would you have turned down big record deals to protect your sound like Chris did? Let us know in the comments. Before Taylor Swift, before Chance the Rapper, before anyone was talking about independence in music, there was Chris LeDoux. This legendary cowboy was recording albums in basements, pressing his own cassettes, and selling them directly to fans from the back of his pickup truck at rodeo events. You know what makes this even more impressive? By 1982, he had sold more than 250,000 albums entirely on his own. Think about that achievement in a pre-internet era. 250,000 records sold individually, show by show, without distribution networks or promotional budgets. And by the end of the 80s, you won't believe this, Chris LeDoux had self-released a staggering 22 albums. Yep, you heard that right. 22 albums without a record label backing him. Everything changed for him in 1989 with just one line in a song. An artist named Garth Brooks released his debut single, Much Too Young to Feel This Damn Old, containing the lyric, "A worn-out tape of Chris LeDoux, lonely women and bad booze seem to be the only friends I'd left at all." Suddenly, millions of people started asking, who the hell is Chris LeDoux? Record stores couldn't keep his independent albums in stock. People who had never heard of Chris in their lives were searching for the cowboy singer that Garth mentioned. After nearly 2 decades of doing things his own way, LeDoux finally signed with Liberty Records in 1991. His major label debut, Western Underground, featured a duel with Garth Brooks called What You Gonna Do with a Cowboy that reached number 7 in the country charts. The album went gold, selling over 500,000 copies, and LeDoux was nominated for a Grammy Award for Best Country Vocal Collaboration. Despite this newfound commercial success, Chris remained humble to his core. After every performance of that duet, he would simply say, "Thanks, Garth. No ego, just gratitude." But what gave LeDoux's music such profound authenticity was simple. He wasn't playing a character. In 1976, LeDoux achieved every rodeo cowboy's dream by winning the World Bareback Riding Championship at the National Finals Rodeo. Suddenly, those cassette tapes he was selling had extra credibility. As LeDoux put it, "I want a saddle and a buckle, and I got a hat and a pair of boots and a little bit of money. The money's gone, the boots are worn out, the hat's gone, and someone bit a big chunk out of it at Fort Worth that next winter. I still have the saddle and the buckle, but that championship gave me credibility in the music that I'm doing and helped tremendously." So now you must be wondering, who was this extraordinary man before the fame? Surprisingly, this legendary cowboy wasn't born on a ranch. Chris Lee LeDoux was born on October 2nd, 1948 in Biloxi, Mississippi. Well, not exactly cowboy country. His father was in the Air Force, which meant young Chris moved around a lot, but it was during visits to his grandparents' farm where he first fell in love with horses. By age 13, he entered his first rodeo competition. Think about that. While most teenagers were worried about school dances, Chris was already giving himself to animals whose sole purpose was to buck him off. That takes a different kind of courage. The LeDoux family eventually settled in Wyoming, where Chris won the Wyoming State Rodeo Championship in bareback riding twice while still in high school. His talent earned him a rodeo scholarship to college, where he continued dominating the competition. However, as time went on, Chris discovered that rodeo wasn't paying the bills. To make ends meet while traveling from event to event, he began writing songs about the only life he knew, the rodeo. His thoughtful mother bought him a guitar, and he taught himself to play. At this point, music was becoming as important to him as rodeo. Now, this is where LeDoux's story differs from almost every other country music star. He didn't move to Nashville hoping to get discovered. He didn't play bars and clubs trying to land a record deal. Instead, he wrote songs for himself and his fellow cowboys, authentic songs about the thrills, dangers, and lifestyle of rodeo competition. By 1972, he had enough material for an album. Instead of shopping for a record deal, guess what he did? Chris and his father created their own record label called American Cowboy Songs. Think about how ahead of his time he was, decades before independent artists and self-releasing became common common practice. The recording process was about as DIY as it get. LeDoux recorded his songs in a friend's basement with some local musicians. I was playing rhythm guitar and singing, Chris said, and some rancher was playing lead and a highway patrolman was playing bass. His parents duplicated the tapes in their kitchen, and Chris sold them out of the back of his pickup truck at rodeo events. Despite his growing popularity, especially in the western states, LeDoux remained fiercely independent. By 1982, he had sold over 250,000 copies of his albums with virtually no marketing. By the end of the decade, he had self-released 22 albums. Major record labels eventually came calling, but LeDoux turned them down. He preferred maintaining complete control over his music and career. He was building something special, a direct relationship with his fans without corporate influence. This was revolutionary for the time. Now, fast forward to 1980, when LeDoux decided to retire from competitive rodeo. The constant injuries and time away from family had worn him down. But was that the best decision? Well, let's see. Retirement from rodeo didn't mean retirement from music. In fact, it gave LeDoux more time to write, record, and perform. His concerts became legendary events that were more like rodeo performances than typical music shows. He'd ride a mechanical bull between songs and incorporate pyrotechnics into his performances. When he played his hit Copenhagen, fans would throw things like tobacco on stage. Their unique way of showing appreciation, like roses for a more traditional performer. But that's not even all. What many don't realize about Chris LeDoux is that he wasn't just a rodeo champion and musician. He was also a talented artist. His bronze Western sculptures won Best of Show awards in statewide exhibits. Even Garth Brooks and Charlie Daniels collected his artwork. Chris was a cowboy, champion athlete, musician, songwriter, and visual artist. But above all, a dedicated family man. When asked what he wanted to be known for, he said, "What I want to be known for, on top of everything else, is that I was a good husband and family man." His wife Peggy had been with him since the early rodeo days. As Chris once put it, "My wife rodeoed with me. We spent a week by the river in California eating beans and bologna when we first got married. I found the perfect lady for this old cowboy." But as you know, life isn't always rosy and doesn't always go as planned. In 2000, LeDoux faced the toughest challenge of his life. He was diagnosed with a rare liver disease that required a transplant. When word got out, Garth Brooks immediately offered to donate part of his own liver, though doctors determined it wasn't compatible. Being the fighter he was, LeDoux was back performing within 6 months of surgery. However, in 2004, he was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. Despite treatment, Chris LeDoux sadly passed away on March 9, 2005, at the age of 56. The response from the country music world was immediate and heartfelt. In late 2005, Garth Brooks came out of retirement to record Good Ride Cowboy as a tribute to LeDoux. Brooks insisted it needed to be up-tempo, happy song like him, not some slow, mournful song. He wasn't like that. Chris was exactly as our heroes are supposed to be. He was a man's man. LeDoux received numerous posthumous honors. He was inducted into the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame, the first person ever to be inducted in 2 categories, for his bareback riding and in the notable category for his contributions to the sport through his music. The Academy of Country Music awarded him their Cliffstone Pioneer Award. His son Bo spread his father's ashes over Frontier Park Arena during the annual Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo, a fitting tribute to a man who had dreamed of rodeo glory there as a boy. In 2021, a bronze statue of LeDoux titled Just LeDoux It was unveiled at Cheyenne Frontier Days, depicting him on a bucking bronc with a guitar. The statue stands as a permanent reminder of the man who lived the life that most country singers only sang about. His independence showed how many artists would later build careers in the digital age. He proved you didn't need a major label to find success. You just needed authenticity and a direct connection with fans. As his longtime guitarist put it, it was like getting up every morning and walking down the road with John Wayne. The only difference was there was no on-screen or off-screen. Chris was the same every day, an exceptional man. So, what do you think about LeDoux ahead of his time? Can you name any modern artist who lives their lyrics the way he did? And would today's stars survive a day in his boots? Drop your thoughts in the comments section. And if you're excited about exploring more legendary cowboys who rewrote the rules, go check out our next video right here on this link. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you there.